Hello again, friends. Welcome back to the www.plaidavenger.com, where we just don't want to hear the news. We want to understand that news. And here's some news you probably haven't even heard about, much less understand. Some Chinese ships bumped into some Vietnamese ships out in the open ocean and really ticked off Vietnam. And some Chinese ships also bumped into some Filipino ships, and that really ticked off Philippines. What is going on with China bumping into stuff and pissing off a lot of Southeast Asian nations? Oh, I'm so glad you asked, because all this bumping is occurring around a small group of rock islands, no bigger than your living room, out in the middle of the South China Sea. They are the Spratly Islands, to be exact, and they may be causing what is going to be the biggest concern and consternation in Asia and the world in the foreseeable future. Let's entitle this one A Tit for Tat, a Spratly Spat. I love when the Dr. Seuss comes out of the Plaid Avenger now. First off, let's actually make this brief, and we'll have a continuation of this theme for the next Plaidcast. Spratly Islands, what? Why on earth would a bunch of countries be fighting over a handful of rocks out in the Pacific? Well, let's get it specifically where it's at in the Pacific, and that is these are in the South China Sea. Where's that at? I don't know. Maybe south of China. Good call. The South China Sea is kind of triangulated between China, Vietnam, and the Philippines, and Taiwan. It's all there in the middle there. The Spratly Islands themselves are kind of in the southern portion of that South China Sea. If you look at the map, you see it's actually not really that close to China. But here's the deal. Why would we even care about this story? Why am I saying that this has possible bigger repercussions for the region and the world? Because a whole bunch of countries actually claim that the Spratly Islands belong to them. And the country, of course, of most note is China, who has said for some time, nope, they're all ours. China own. That's it. It may not be close to China, but we say they're ours. Other countries that claim the Spratly Islands in their entirety, I believe, are Taiwan, which isn't even a country, that's questionable, and Vietnam. These entities say, no, they're all ours. Other countries claim part of the Spratly Islands, and those include Brunei, Malaysia, and the Philippines. So you have 6 countries / entities, including Taiwan, that are laying claim over a bunch of rocks out in the South China Sea. What? What? Did I just say 6 major countries, including the titan of the 21st century China, might possibly be fighting over a group of rocks in the South China Sea? You got it, baby. Now, why would that be? A couple different reasons, actually, and the first and perhaps most important one is that everybody thinks that the Spratly Islands may be sitting on top of a big heaping hell ton of oil and natural gas. That's right, everybody thinks that underneath the ocean floor of these islands is a bunch of black gold. And everybody needs those energy resources. China, of course, in its blasting up economy, always needs more energy, as do all of the economies of Southeast Asia, the ASEAN countries, which are all hustling and bustling too and need energy. Everybody thinks a bunch of stuff is here. Little side note from the Avenger, I've actually seen no geologic reports or anything that definitively prove that anything's here. It's, again, there must be basing the information on something, but no, there's no pipelines. There's nothing coming up yet, and no one's even positively sure there's anything there. But it's important enough possibly to be fighting over. Now, so all these islands, all these countries think there may be something important under these islands. The oil. That's the first thing. The second thing is that it's a territorial issue too. It's a strategy thing. It's strategic to own pieces of property outside your own country, and islands are awesome for that, because here's the deal according to the UN law of the sea. Every sovereign state and its territory, wherever it is in the world, you own your state, right? You control the land, but you also control 200 nautical miles off the coastline of your lands. And that's an exclusive zone that's basically an extension of your land. So 200 miles off the Chinese coast, that's still China. If a U.S. warship were to stray in there, they could just blast it out of the water and say, hey, you were just in Chinese territory. And that's true according to UN law. But on top of that, you also own everything under the water 200 miles out from your coastline. So that's part of the Spratly thing, is you own the island and 200 miles in all directions, and anything under it, we're back to the resource thing again. But just think about it strategically. Strategically, China and these other countries, it behooves them to have these little islands here in the South China Sea, or really anywhere, because if it's part of your sovereign territory, if you can make the claim that this is ours, that Hawaii belongs to the United States, which it does, then the United States can own 200 miles in all directions of Hawaii, just like China could own 200 miles in all directions of a little rock in the South China Sea. And you could put a Navy base there. You could put a battleship there. You could put a battleship in the middle of the Spratly Islands, which is right off the coast of the Philippines. Are you starting to see how strategically these islands are quite important too? It's a projection of power. If you have an island on the other side of the planet that's yours, you can put a base. You could put your missiles there if you want. You could put a nuclear bomb there if you want. That's strategic value, and the Spratlys have strategic and possible resource value for all of the countries involved. In a very big way, Southeast Asian states are extremely agitated about what's going on because, as you see from the map, these islands are not really near China, but very near all of them, just off the coast of Malaysia and the Philippines and Vietnam. Now, does that mean it's a targeted threat that China's trying to get down there so they can point missiles at everybody? No, no, no. China wants it for the strategic value, more so for the resources. And what's been going on is that China has already kind of started to throw down the gauntlet. They've been saying for years the Spratlys belong to us, period. But now they're throwing down the gauntlet a bit more because they're a bit more powerful, and they can do that. So they're sending their ships out to patrol the islands. The Chinese are hilarious. They've actually taken like pregnant women out to this little group of rocks and pushed the pregnant woman onto the rock. She squats, she has a kid, and then for some reason the Chinese say, see, Chinese territory, they're Chinese child here. And you're like, what? There's a Chinese citizen was born on this rock, therefore it must be Chinese territory. I'm not making the argument, I'm just saying they've done it. Cuckoo, it sounds kind of funny to me. But all of these countries want to control this area, possibly for resources. And more importantly, the East Asian or Southeast Asian countries are slightly worried that if China gets in there, they could influence things a lot more, and their battleships could be in there floating around, which is what's been going on. Chinese ships bumping into and interrupting Vietnamese ships who were doing an underwater geologic survey to try to figure out if there was oil there. And Chinese ships harassed some Filipino fishermen who were over there fishing, and China saying, no, 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 this is, the fish are ours too. 200 miles. The fish are ours, the oil is ours. Don't come messing in here, Filipinos trying to get fish. Don't come in here, Vietnam, trying to get oil. It's ours. In fact, China today, June 9th, made a statement saying, don't mess. They just came out right and said it. They've had these incursions with the Vietnamese and Filipino ships just in the last couple weeks. And this has been going on for 20 years, by the way, but it's getting hot again right now. So they've had these incursions, and Vietnam's agitated and mad and making statements, and so is the Philippines. And China came out today and said, we don't care. Don't mess. It's ours. We're telling you. Don't go looking for oil, Vietnam. It's ours if you find it. Don't go getting fish, Philippines. They're ours if you catch them. So this is why all these countries are like, wait a minute. This is our territory and possibly ours, and what the hell's going on here? Now, that's why they care. Why should anybody else? Why is the Plaid Avenger suggesting that you should care? And because your government does, the United States cares. The United Nations actually cares. They're already trying to get in the middle of this and saying, hey, everybody, let's chill. And the reason everybody cares is because this is going to be a much bigger regional issue starting now. It is possible that these states might go to war over this group of islands. It's very feasible that a Filipino Navy ship or a Vietnam Navy ship is out in these rocks and they bump into a Chinese ship and fighting ensues. It's possible, but let's be honest, who's going to win? Everybody knows you're not going to get into a fight with a giant. You'll get stepped on. So it's not even that we're that worried that there's going to be an outbreak of war over this, because it'll be a one-sided battle. It's much more important that there's going to be bigger regional strategies that start to get outlined and defined right now because of this particular Spratly spat. And what I mean by that is China is refocusing its military energies in a very specific way to address this exact scenario. What am I referring to? China is beefing up its Navy in a gigantic way to be able to push out its influence out into the Pacific and indeed all across the South China Sea. And that has Southeast Asian nations a little worried. By the way, so is Taiwan, and so is Japan. Wait a minute, now we're getting further afield. Why am I suggesting outside the South China Sea countries might be worried about the rise of the Chinese Navy? Oh, I don't know, just this. And here's where we'll pick up tomorrow, friends. As reported 2 days ago, first time ever, China has acquired an aircraft carrier. And this was disclosed, I'm assuming, by the United States CIA with some satellite photography, that they're currently working on it. You know what? That's a whole nother kettle of fish, staying with the navigation oceanic theme here. Let's pick that one up tomorrow and talk about the importance of aircraft carriers and what it means to China in particular, and its exerting, pushing out influence to the rest of Asia. But for now, we're out.